Today, I have a story of our OP who faced accusations of cheating, a meddling friend, and a heartbreaking loss. From r/relationship advice, my wife and her best friend accused me of having an affair, then got angry when I didn't have one. I, 31M, and my wife, 29F, had a baby last December. It was a traumatic birth, and my wife developed postpartum depression. While she was originally going to go back to work after the birth, she's been struggling enough that we decided to wait until our daughter was a year old and reassess. She has been going to therapy weekly. With my wife home full-time, I've had to work increased hours. This is something we discussed prior to making this decision, and she knew this from the start. A few weeks ago, my boss approached me about a project that would require a lot of overtime in a short amount of time. It would both be great financially and for my career. I talked to my wife about it, and she agreed that I should say yes to my boss. For the 4 weeks I'd be working on this, my mother-in-law and her best friend, Jessie, 29F, name change, would come help out with some of the duties that I typically do. Jessie is a stay-at-home mother with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She began coming over during the day and would watch the kids with my wife. 3 weeks into the project, it became clear that we'd need a few more weeks to get it together. I went home that night and talked to my wife about it. She said she was okay with it, but got very cold in the days after. It wasn't unusual behavior over the past few months, so I didn't think much about it and tried not to take it personally. During the last week of the project, I got home one night and saw that Jessie was still at the house. I didn't think much about it, said hi to her and my wife, and then went to go check on our daughter. Before I could get to her room, I heard Jessie say something along the lines of, "He doesn't even stop to greet you. Definitely a sign." I turned around and asked what it was a sign of. Immediately, my wife started crying, and Jessie started accusing me of having an affair. She told me that I must hate my wife because she has purified protein derivative, and am not attracted to her because she gained weight from the pregnancy. Neither of these things are true. I'm trying my best to help my wife through her purified protein derivative while supporting our family. And I think she looks great how she is right now. She just hasn't wanted to make love, and I haven't pushed. Jessie then demanded to see my phone. I told her no. She told me that's a sign that I'm guilty. I told my wife that I would let her see my phone if she wanted to. She nodded, and something inside me broke. I guess it was the thought that she actually believed I was having an affair really got to me, and that she didn't trust me after everything we've been through. Well, she looked through the phone, and there was no evidence. Jessie started saying that I deleted the evidence. She started screaming and woke up our daughter, so I told her to get out of the house. Eventually, she left, and I went to calm our daughter since my wife was still on the couch crying. When my daughter was asleep again, I sat down by my wife and tried to talk to her about what's been happening. She told me that she's been worried ever since I started working all the overtime. I told her that we talked about how good of an opportunity it was, and she agreed to letting me take on this project. She said it was very suspicious to increase the length of the project. I told her that sometimes that happens. She wanted more evidence, so I showed her messages and emails with timestamps from work and pay stubs showing the occupational therapy. She said she believed me and was sorry for doubting me. It was just that Jessie had been telling her that these were all signs that I was cheating. I asked her why she believed Jessie more than me, and why she didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't have a real answer. It's been a couple weeks and the project is over. I actually scaled back and am trying to work a little less than I was before the project so I can spend more time with my wife and daughter. But I feel so burnt out trying to do everything and becoming resentful because in the back of my mind, I know that my wife doesn't trust me. I ask myself, what happens the next time I have a project? Or I have to run errands one day? Or if I have a business trip, am I going to come back every time to accusations that I'm cheating? I've tried bringing it up a couple times, but my wife tells me it's not the time, and that she's tired or sad. I try to be mindful of her feelings, but I wonder if that means that I can never have any of my own. I'm not sure what to do here. Any advice for how I can move forward? Update 1. Thank you all for the advice and support on my previous post. Many of you pointed out that I need to look after my own mental health and see a therapist. Here's an update, but it's not a happy one. I told my wife that I was going to find a therapist because I was having a tough time. She shrugged and said to do whatever. The next day, I came home to find our room and my home office a mess. Important papers were scattered, and my daughter was crying in her room. My wife was nowhere to be found, and her phone was off. I called my in-laws and friends, but no one had seen her. Worried, I asked my mom to babysit while I looked for her. Before my mom arrived, my wife came back with Jessie driving. Jessie didn't come in, but my wife did, clearly upset. She started screaming at me, accusing me of having an affair and using therapy as a front to meet my mistress. When I tried to calm her down, she hit me and broke my nose. Realizing what she did, she sat down and stared at the wall. I locked myself in my daughter's room, called my mom to tell her what happened, and asked my mother-in-law to take care of my wife. I packed a bag for my daughter, and when my mom arrived, we left. We dropped my daughter off with my dad and went to urgent care for my nose. My daughter and I are staying with my parents, and my wife is staying with hers. I'm looking into getting a restraining order against Jessie. My wife and I are separating. I love her, but I can't live with someone who hurts me and could potentially hurt our daughter. I'm not filing for divorce yet, hoping she'll get the treatment she needs. My in-laws are looking into inpatient treatment for her. I've documented everything in case of a custody battle. My heart is broken because I know this isn't my wife. It's her mental illness. But I need to keep myself and our daughter safe and give her space to recover. I hope this is the right decision. Thank you again for your feedback. After reading your comments, I've decided to file a police report for my daughter's protection. I'm headed to the station now. Update 2. Do I let the woman I blame for my wife's death speak at her funeral? In short, a woman fed lies to my wife, who was suffering from postpartum depression, leading to her mental breakdown and death. Now she wants to speak at my wife's funeral. Denying her might cause trouble, which I'm not sure is worth it. My wife passed away early Monday morning. Convinced by her friend Jessie that I was having an affair, she had a mental break. I took our infant daughter and stayed with my parents while she stayed with hers. They planned to take her to the hospital for inpatient treatment on Monday. On Sunday night, she came to my parents' house and demanded I give her our daughter. Since she had left her alone before and got physical with me, I refused but offered to let her spend time with her while we were present. She left upset. A few hours later, she drove her parents' car into a tree and died. Jessie came to see my daughter and me yesterday. She told me she planned to speak at my wife's funeral. I told her no. We argued, and she left, calling me an bumble. I talked to my in-laws, who insist Jessie should speak. She and my wife were childhood friends, and my in-laws are close to her. We're all fragile right now, and I fear pushing this would harm my relationship with my in-laws, which I don't want. Still, seeing Jessie speak at my wife's funeral makes me feel sick. I don't think I can handle it, knowing she contributed to my wife's mental decline and left her alone. I don't trust myself to make the best decisions right now. My mind is clouded by grief, guilt, and fear. My parents are split on what to do, and I don't have the energy to reach out to friends, so I'm coming here again for advice. Thank you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and check out these videos for more great content. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you next time.